I've known Andy a long time, and today he's giving his knowledge to you for free. He's going to teach you how to take your business from a small business to a big business, to go from 10,000 a month to 100,000 a month. And all you have to do is sit down, grab a notepad, grab a cup of tea and listen. And if you can't do that, I'm sure you're not going to make it. Andy, what are we going to learn today? Talk us through.
Today what we're going to learn is Scale to Exit management system.
Scale to Exit, is that a special term?
Special term, and the reason it's special is because lots of people talk about growing a business, and lots of people talk about you working in the business and working on the business, and ultimately it's going from, I'm going to steal your pen for a second, going from in to on.
In to on, okay.
And what I find is, in order to go from one step to another step, there's sort of three things you need to master. You need to master you, because if you as an individual are not growing, then that's the first thing.
Yeah, you.
The second thing is the business. What is the ethos of the business, and how do you scale that?
Yeah.
And then thirdly is the management system for the business. Because we all get so focused on learning marketing or looking on sales, or if we're an inventor, we create an amazing product, but we forget about all the other things.
So, okay, well, let's do that. So let's start then. I thought you were going to say you're working in the business to working on the business, literally.
Literally that.
Yeah, because I did this. I used to work in the business.
Yes.
And then I managed to sell it and scale it when I was working on the business. I brought someone else in to run it.
Yes.
And I was working on it, not in it.
And this system will take you through that process of how to do that.
Right.
But that's not necessarily about, and we talked about selling there, it's not necessarily about selling your business. It's about extracting you from the business so you can do the things you're passionate about.
You have more options if you're not in the. A lot of people's bottleneck is themselves.
Yes,
right.
100%.
Okay, so let's talk about you. How do you frame this then? Let's start there.
So we talk about this as the scaling part of your business. So typically there are 4 areas that you need to go through. You go from being an operator in the business to being a manager of the business. You start off with a business and you're doing all the work. And then what you do is you end up bringing in a person or 2 people or 3 people to assist you. Then what you need to do is you need to transition to being the business owner. So you're managing the managers. And then the last thing is you need to become an investor. Now, that doesn't mean to say you are going to go and buy loads of different businesses. That's not necessarily what this means. It's about extracting you from the business so you can see it from a helicopter view working in. And there's 4 things you need to master. So I call this pegs. So you as an individual need to progress, and that's typically in several areas: health, wealth and happiness. I have a 10-year plan. What does my 10-year plan look like? And the only caveat I'm going to put there is if you're 20 years old, you don't need a 10-year plan. If you're 40 years old, 10 years is probably the same as 3 years for a 20-year-old. So there's a slight caveat on, depending on what age you are, you're going to need something. And what that gives you is, what's my North Star for me going forwards? And that for me is really, really important. So that's the P part of that. E is you need to educate yourself and gain experience. So what do you need to do to learn and progress? And you can only progress by learning. How do you do that learning? What does that look like? So you educate yourself, and while you're doing that, you need to gain experience in that knowledge. Whether it's you want to become a content creator, a videographer or a salesman, you need to gain experience to learn how to do that. The G for me is the growth. But the growth has to be succinct to 3 areas. That's your family unit, whatever that family unit looks like for the individuals. It needs to be personal life, right? As in you personally, and your business. And those 3 things have to be aligned. Because if you've got a partner, a significant other, and you're taking the business in this direction, and she or he is not involved or doesn't understand, it's never going to last. I'm not saying it won't, but in my experience, you'll have to be aligned. And that growth comes as a unit together. And then the S is because you've educated and gained a huge amount of experience, and you've grown the business, you've grown as an individual, you've overcomplicated everything. So you have to simplify everything. You end up stripping things out that just don't make sense anymore. That for me is how you as an individual progress, because everyone's so focused on growing the business, they don't focus on themselves. And when you don't align everything, it all falls down.
Great insight. I would say the family and personal business thing, they always say you can only do 2 out of the 3. So you can either have, health and well-being, looking after yourself, and a good relationship, and your business will suffer.
Yes.
Or a good business, your personal relationships are good, but you don't look after yourself enough. It's hard to have all 3 of these, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's where it comes down to structuring your life to enable that to happen. Because people's excuses, oh, well, I screwed up my business because of this, or I screwed up my relationship because of this. It's all nonsense. It's all because you're not taking ownership over yourself and everything you're doing. And the people that are successful have typically an amazing partner that understands what they're doing, how they're doing it, and 100%. What their purpose is to drive that forward.
Yeah, you need the people around you to be completely supportive. I think I've hacked it a little bit because I do business and relationships together. So, for example, I worked with my wife for 15 years. We're doing a business together and we're together chatting. So I'm catching up with you as a friend, someone seeing you, and we're doing business. It's you can combine 2 out of the 3.
Totally agree.
I think there's a hack there.
Yeah.
So us going on a bike ride, for example, and talking business, you can do health and fitness, catch up with friends, and you can do something, for yourself.
That for me is how do you combine all that stuff?
Yeah.
So we walk up Snowdonia and stuff like that as a group of friends and stuff like that. For me is the best way of doing it. Yeah. Wife and I have worked together for 10 years. Yeah. We've had a couple of moments along that journey. And it took us 5 years to work that out. Yeah. And actually, we parted ways a couple of times. In fact, I made a redundant once as well along that journey. And we still work together. Yeah, so it can be done.
Amazing, really interesting. All right, what was next? We've done you. We've got people thinking about you. What's
that's
next?
all about the person. The next thing is the exit or the extraction. How do you create a business asset that you can either exit or you extracting yourself from?
Right.
And there's 3 things you need to think of. And that's people within the business, the vision of the business, and profit. And all of those, for me, come completely hand in hand. You need amazing people in the business, you need a North Star for the business, and the business needs to be profitable to enable it to continue to grow. Because if it's not profitable, then obviously you can't scale and grow it. So people. I have a 3-4 pronged attack on this. You want to recruit, retain, and develop the best possible people you can. And there's loads of things you can do inside of that. And we could spend an hour just talking about that one individual piece. But ultimately, you want the best people in the business that are on the bus for the journey, and we'll come on to the vision in a minute of what that means, that are just doing a great job. You don't need to micromanage people, and the moment you're micromanaging people is the moment you've got a problem with either yourself or the people working within the business because they're not taking ownership over what they're doing. So that's the first thing. You need the right people in the business.
And how do you know they're the right people? Because a lot of people listening like, well, how do I know they're the right people?
That's a great question. For me, that all comes down to the values in the business and the performance in which they are doing that gets towards their KPIs. And when we get to the management system, the KPIs fall part of that. So
management system in a minute we'll talk about.
Yeah, exactly that. So the next bit is vision.
Yeah.
So every business needs a vision. I talked about the North Star for you personally, and exactly the same for the business. What's the North Star for the vision? Depending on what business it is, who it serves and what it does, it needs a vision and a mission. Those 2 things are very, very different. You need something, what's that North Star you're aiming for? Yeah. Who are you serving and what does that mean? And then the third part of that is values. What are the values inside the business that everyone sticks to? And for me, everyone overcomplicates that piece. Because if you go to a business and say, what's your values? They'll go, I've got no really idea. It's 30 things someone put on a website once.
Right.
It's just too complicated. So we went down the route of Dave Bralford's marginal gains, core. So we have core. So we took we had 8 values. I was in a management meeting once with our senior leadership team. I said, right guys, here's a piece of paper, blank piece of paper. Write down the values of our business. These are the senior leaders in our business. This is the managing director, it's the head of marketing, the head of sales, and so on. Write down.
I feel I know where this is going.
After about half an hour, we managed to write down, I think it was 9 values that we had within the business. We got there. That doesn't work. That's just not good. So we stripped it all out and we went to the core, the Team Sky. I basically just worked and looked at what other people were doing and just copied it and worked out how could we make that work for us. It's not taking someone else's values and going, well, let's just implement it here. How does that work for our business? Right. And core is 4 simple things. It's commitment, it's ownership, responsibility, and excellence. And it makes it really simple. And all of our 9 values fitted inside those 4. So why overcomplicate it?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, even on my platform, we're like, our basic core value is we will never charge people for help.
Yeah.
We will give people content for free, and we will provide what people need to as many people as we can afford to for free.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's
Keeping
what
it simple, right?
It's exactly that. Because people overcomplicate it. We talked about simplification earlier already. Because when you grow a business, you're constantly putting layers of stuff in. Whether it's a policy because someone broke a policy or someone didn't turn up on time and you think you need a timekeeping policy, whatever that stuff is, you end up keep on adding, but you need to just cut it all. So that's the vision for me.
Okay.
And then profit, the last bit, is about the strategy of the business. How do you put a strategy inside the business that enables the business to scale and grow? And we use things like OKRs, so objectives and key results. And you implement those into the business to make sure that it continues to grow and scale. Okay. So that's the exit, the extraction of you within the business, because if you don't have the right people, if you don't have a vision and people know what they're going towards, purpose, and they haven't got a strategy or profit, you'll never be able to remove yourself from the business to be able to make it work.
And that will free you from what I sometimes describe as people's own prison on their own business. They can own their own business but be a slave to it. So that's good for people to understand how to get out of that.
And if you come back to the beginning, when they're an operator or a manager within the business, it's exactly that. They can't get outside the business and they're working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, and they make themselves the most important part of the puzzle, which is actually really dangerous because it means key man risk.
Yes, and that hero status. You sort of get.
I've done it myself in my early businesses as well. Like I'm the only person who can sell in this company, and everyone who I hire to do sales is never going to stand a chance because I'm the hero. So you got to build systems and build vision, and such good advice. Yeah.
And that's the only way the business will grow. You only grow with great people, and if you want to go from 10 grand a month to 100 grand a month and so on, you can only do that with the right people supporting you, and you have to let go of your ego. And we've all been, I've definitely been there where, well, look, I've got £1 million business. How amazing am I? I'm and then you realise, one, there's people doing a lot better than that. And you realise that's not going to get you to the next level. You have to lose all that nonsense.
Well, ironically, a big business is easier to manage than a small business. So management, that's the funnel bit, right?
Yeah. So we've got 12 businesses in the group, and I don't run any of them day to day. And running 12 businesses is easier than running one.
Yeah, people don't understand. I know. And that's the thing. If people hear that, they'll be like, how can that be true? But I have the same experience,
And the way I've managed that, and I've screwed up a number of times along my business journey. We've got bust, we've had issues where we've had to restructure businesses. All of these things have happened. And having done all of that, I took a step back and go, well, if I want to work on the business, I need a structure, because everyone talks to you about, well, you need to get better at marketing and you need to get a better product, or you need whatever it is. The problem is you focus on that one area, and if you're the inventor, you'll be great at the product, but the delivery will be poor, or you can't get leads, or you'll be great at marketing, but the delivery will be rubbish and you'll lose clients. Or if you're great at all of those things, you've got no one running your finance and you've got a gaping hole because no one's chasing debt. And it's the management of those things that are crucial. So I call this bookended ACDC. I don't know why. It just seemed to make sense.
Bookended ACDC. Rhymes a little bit.
Don't tell ACDC.
All right, it's a trademark probably.
So the first one is product. You need a product that solves a problem. You need a product that's going to excite people. If it doesn't solve a problem, it's not a product. So it needs to solve someone's pain. If your client's here and you want to get them here, somewhere along that journey, that product needs to solve a problem. The other thing the product needs to do is it needs to have multiple revenue streams. That could be that it needs monthly recurring revenue. I'm a strong believer in having a business that's got recurring revenue. It's not project based, or at least a mix. But you need what I call MRS, multiple revenue streams, that enables product to sell to product. One client comes to you for a book, but ultimately once they've read the book, they need a course to implement it. If they've got a black pen, they need a blue pen. All of those things come hand in hand. You need to build awareness for the product. Okay, there's an E missing from there, but we'll skip over that. So the awareness thing is all about marketing. And for me, one funnel. People talk about funnels, funnel hacking, all these amazing things, whatever. But ultimately, you need one funnel that takes people to build awareness of your business that ends up then becoming a client. And for me, the awareness is all about creating one funnel before you create another funnel. Because it's all very well going, getting one person over here, another person over here, getting from all these different channels. But ultimately, if you've got more than one funnel, it's a problem. And you being a marketing guy, that for me is where a lot of people go wrong. They're doing all this spread betting and stuff is going everywhere, but nothing goes into one place. It's contact me here, contact me here, contact me here.
Yeah, Russell Brunson, who we've had on the podcast, is also talked about this. Yeah, he's the funnel creator of the the click funnel model. Yep. So it makes sense.
And to be fair, a lot of what I learned in this area comes from Russell Brunson or people in that industry. And the big thing I believe in, which I learned from Russell, is the Dream 100. So I believe in this area here, you can do 100 podcasts. Or what you could do is you could have 100 partnerships. Yep. You could have 100 partnerships that all bring you 10 leads each. It's much better than you selling to one person at a time. Yep. So for me, the Dream 100 here, which is from originally by the guy called the Goat Farmer, that then Russell took, that I then took from Russell, all of that comes into here.
Makes sense.
And I think some of the stuff that previous people you've had before, like Daniel Priestley, Key Person of Influence, all of that sits in this area here. But what happens is we get so focused on one of these areas, great product, great marketing, that the other areas all fall through.
What's next?
So the next thing is how we close that. This is sales. We get a lead. How are we actually going to close that? And you need the right people to do that. So you need a sales team potentially. And I think what you were talking about there earlier, the founder always thinks they're the best salesperson. And actually in the start, they typically are. Because they're the one that's so passionate about their product that they sell it. They sell it on their passion alone. Whereas as you scale a business, that's no longer possible. You need to have a process to solve that. So first of all is having the right resources, whether it be that people or demonstrations or books or whatever.
Knowledge on how to close. Yeah.
Exactly that. And I use a process I learned when I worked in sales many years ago called rapport. You state an aim of why you're there and what the purpose is. P, you probe, you ask some questions. P, you present your product based on the needs of the client that you're selling to, take any objections, and then reaching transaction, ask for the business. Really simple process that you can teach anyone in 1 second, 10 seconds, 3 minutes, or 3 days. And then repeat business is another thing that would come under the close section.
Makes sense.
Delivery. So how do you deliver this amazing product that you've told everyone is amazing and a sales team have told them it's the best thing since sliced bread? You have to be able to deliver an amazing product that enables people to get what they paid for. And I laugh because as you scale and grow a business, you put in systems and processes. And it's, okay, I'm going to hire someone, and what they're going to do is they're going to follow that system and process. But what happens is as you do grow, that process sort of moves further and further away from what you intended, and the customer doesn't get what they want. And for me, that delivery has to be important. It has to be systems, processes, customer experience. Because if you fail in this area, they'll just fall flat on the face.
And is it a question of checking with the customers to make sure you are delivering, or how do you make sure you are delivering and not moving away?
So for me, one of the KPIs underneath that is how many systems and processes broke. Depends on the business you have. For me, this is all for B2B type businesses. This works really, really well. The thing that people do is they need to find the right measurement for their business. So one of our warehouse businesses is we have on time in full. You order this pen from said business. They then deliver it to the customer. What is that delivery time frame? That is all that people care about. So if you say it's 2 days, is it delivered in 2 days? So the measurement is, what's the on time in full value? Each business will have an independent measure here, and we'll come on to the KPIs to manage that in a minute. And the last thing is consistency. The one thing we definitely falled foul on. During COVID, we had a massive spike in one of our e-commerce businesses of orders, which is amazing. Everyone went from home, and all of a sudden, we're all at home buying stuff. One of our e-commerce businesses went through the roof, and you've got these systems and processes in place, but you must have consistency of delivery. And for me, the consistency of delivery is customer success. So coming back to your point of how do you measure some of that, in some of our businesses, we have a ticket desk system. So a customer's got a customer query or something hasn't happened. They send a ticket in to say, hey, could you help me with this? And you're managing that here to get the right customer experience, to create consistency, which means all of this needs to be managed properly. And the consistency is more important than, or managing the consistency of the systems and processes as important.
Got it.
And the last one is finance. Now, underneath all of these, there's probably 10 other things you can do. And I'm going to give you one here, and that's SCAR. So for me, finance is the most important part of the business. But what happens is, and we talked about this earlier, is if you've got a great product and you're an inventor, you don't do any of these things. You might be the best person at marketing, but you probably won't focus on this. You could deliver an amazing product, but you forget about this. You could be amazing at finance, but you're rubbish at sales and marketing or a great product. But the beauty of the system is you need to manage all of these. So finance, SCAR. You need systems and processes that sends invoices and make sure those invoices get paid. And that sounds simple, doesn't it? But you've got to chase the debt. People won't pay without a nudge. So you've got to give them a nudge to make that work. And software to make that work.
Bit annoying the world's like that. Why don't people just pay you? But I know what you mean.
But it's exactly that.
Yeah,
exactly
with my agency business, we used to almost have to threaten to cut off service. It got so bad at some points. It's like, I don't know why, but it shouldn't be that way. But yeah, people don't do it and then they go bankrupt. A lot of companies I was competing against, their cash flow management was what killed them.
And that's the next one, cash flow. Because what happens is they're so focused on all of this, they've got no one running this. Or if they've got a bookkeeper, or I've just got someone that does the receipts over here, and the accountant does the annual accounts, that is not a finance team that's going to grow and scale your business. So for me, cash flow, understanding what's coming in this week and what's going out this week is how you manage the cash flow. So if you do need to say, hey, Simon, I'm really sorry I can't pay you this week, it's going to have to be next week, you know that. You don't mind if I say I can't pay you this week, it'll be next week. You don't mind because you know it's coming next week.
Again, people don't actually have the guts to say that, but they should, and I wouldn't mind, no.
And that is exactly the point. And then A is actuals. You look at your profit and loss account, and as you're looking at this profit and loss, you're like, well, I made 10 grand this month. You're running down the road, you're cracking open the bottle of champagne, and then you realise that not everyone's paid you, or
something gets cancelled, or something goes wrong. Yeah.
So you need to focus on the actual cash in, cash out, because the P&L, and very quick piece here, your P&L says what's come in from your clients and what's gone out from your clients. What it doesn't show is, let's say you've got some finance. You've got a finance bill, and that finance bill is £10,000 a month, or £5,000, or £1,000 a month bounce back loan. That number isn't included on that. So you made £10,000 profit, but you've got £5,000 in bounce back loan. You've got £2,000 in asset finance. You're only left with £3,000. Now that bottle of champagne isn't so inviting.
But you paid in advance for it.
Exactly that. Exactly that. So that's the actuals. And then the last thing is reporting. You need to make sure you're looking at the numbers on a regular, consistent basis to make sure that you can see anomalies, you can see issues, and you can plan your cash flow forecast.
Again, I've made this mistake. I have not checked carefully enough because I don't like accounts. So I have actually got caught out where I didn't realise someone hadn't paid us.
Yep.
Even though we were chasing them, I had everything else, but I didn't realise, and you get caught out.
That's exactly that.
I had to put the money into the company myself because of my own weakness to do just that. So.
And that's the problem, isn't it? We're so focused on, doing this part of the business that we skip this, or we don't like doing it. So that comes back to the people, vision, profit, having the right people in the business to do it that can follow a system and process.
It's awesome.
But you need the right system and process. So
I hope people listening to this who have a business today and want to scale it, get out of their own way. Because a lot of people listening will be trying to do a lot of these things individually themselves.
100%.
And you need to bring in people to help you do it that know what they're doing as well.
And whilst there's 6 columns here, you could have someone doing 2 or 3 of these. This doesn't have to be, you could be focused on the product. You could have a sales and marketing person that's doing sales and marketing. You could have someone doing the delivery and the consistency. And you can have it doesn't have to be 6 people.
Sure.
You can adapt the roles.
Yeah, some people can mix between the two. I personally like marketing. I like the whole awareness, and I like closing.
Yeah.
So those two together, I don't mind doing them, and I'm good at it.
Yes.
But I at the same time, however, I'm not the only one doing it,
Yeah.
and it's a system. I follow the system just like anybody else.
Yes.
So then I'm not stuck doing these things forever, but I do both. So you can do both, yeah.
Although, and owners are typically bad at this, and I am as guilty as anyone. In fact, I had a note from my head of finance yesterday that said, Andy, please can you follow the process as well?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
They're completely correct, because I'm guilty of bypassing the system.
Yeah, we just set up Slack, and I'm permanently like still doing WhatsApp.
Exactly that. In order to manage the business, you've got all these different things, but what you need is 6 KPIs.
Okay.
And you only need 6 KPIs, and you need red, amber, green on those. So you need here what I call net promoter score or satisfaction score. Net promoter score is a way of understanding how good something is. You could just ask your customers, how have we performed today, 1 to 5? And as long as you're getting people doing that, you need to get an understanding of how good you're doing. You need leads. The business won't function without leads. How many have you got? What's the target? What did we get last week? What did we get last month? What did we get last year? Close. What's the conversion? How much did we convert, and what's the target, and where are we converting more or less? Let's do more of the stuff we are converting, less of the stuff we're not. Delivery, for me, is 2 areas. Monthly recurring revenue or measurement specific in your business. And I use the example of OTIF, on time in full, that we use in our warehouse business so people know they're getting stuff. So one of our products is warehousing or e-commerce fulfillment, and in that product is OTIF. That's the one measurement we need to focus on. Consistency is churn. How many clients are you churning per year? Because if you don't know how many clients you're churning your year, you're losing 10% here, but you're only getting 5% here, your business is going backwards. So you need to manage that churn and have a focus specifically on that. And then lastly, you need margin. You need to understand what your margin is, but underneath those 6, there could be another 100 measurements that you look at. But ultimately, to work on the business effectively, you look at these 6 measurements and focus solely on those.
Good reminder, I need to implement some of these things. I know this, but now you said it, it reminded me I need to implement these things. And sometimes we forget as well, right?
We do.
We know it's common sense,
Yes.
but we forget to implement. So awesome. Guys, I hope you got a lot of value from that. We're off now to have some chicken. See you later.